that was an excellent icebreaker, Miss Melody. Thank you. So good morning once again. I'm glad to see all of you. How's your weekend? I'm sure everyone has his or her story to tell. Well, for now, I want you to sit back properly, relax, and listen attentively. Okay, let me show you this slide. So what is common to the pictures being flashed? Okay, so I know you have your ideas there. Well, we serve that because our topic for today is in relation to what you are possibly thinking. Chapter 7, Complex Cognitive Processes. Exploring complex cognitive processes requires using or transforming previously acquired knowledge and skills. For example, you yourselves as students may use your prior knowledge from theories or from the past lessons you learned and putting it into application. As we all know, our cognition performs so many functions involving so many processes. Now, these are some of the complex cognitive processes: concept formation, thinking, problem solving, transfer, and its diversity. Now, in our day-to-day lives, we inevitably encounter problems. And that is what we're going to tackle this time. You know, problems comes in different forms. In our age now, there are so many common shortcomings. Some in relationships, in school, in financial, or even the doubt on what problem you're going to entertain first. It would still be a problem, I tell you. Now, to get you motivated, by using this lesson, you'll be able to better deal with problems and decisions that you face in life. And by the end of this lesson, we'll be able to meet our objectives. That is, to comprehend the problem-solving process, appreciate the value of problem-solving process, and even to evaluate its effectiveness through application. Okay, so when you hear about the word problem, what comes into your mind? Actually, there are two kinds of problems: the well-defined problem and the ill-defined. Actually, the reason that the problem is well-defined is that the problem solver is given all the necessary information to solve the problem. For example, x plus 3 is equal to 7. Now, there are a couple of strategies on how to solve this type of problem. We all know that. But the result is always the same, and that is 4. Now, the other one, the ill-defined problem, are those problems which does not only have multiple strategies, but also have more than one acceptable solution. For example, the world's hunger. Author says that the solution is that we have to take from the rich and give to the poor. Now, many also propose that it is a long-term solution and that there must be a mandatory birth control and many more acceptable solutions. Now we go to a problem-solving model that can apply to both. Now, this problem-solving model has a series of steps. The first one is the problem identification. This first step is challenging because it requires finding the problem, what the problem really is, before planning a desired solution. Most of our lapses usually is that we tend to arrive to a different conclusions. For example, you failed in your school psychology class, then you conclude that your teacher did not present a good explanation, where the real problem is that you yourself is not participating in the class. Next is problem representation. This is the second step of the problem-solving model. It is up to you on how you restate the problem in your own words or how you visualize your problem. Now, people in industry sometimes use a graph to represent a problem. The next step is the strategy selection. Once problem is identified and represented, the learner must choose a method to solve the problem. Each of us has their own method, has their own different strategies. Now, there are two types of problem-solving strategies. The first one is the algorithm. That is, you already have a set of clearly defined steps. For example, when you have a recipe to make a bread or steps to tie your shoes. The second one is what we call the heuristic. There are kinds of heuristics, namely the following: the means-ends analysis, working back strategies, analogical reasoning, trial and error, which will be discussed further. The first one is the means-ends analysis. This is where a problem is subdivided into a set of sub-goals with the objective of solving each. One good example is computing every flow of a circuit. Next is the working back strategy, where the problem solver starts at the end state and moves back to the initial state of the problem. Example is the students using the answers at the back of their books to deduce the steps needed to answer a question. Next is the analogical reasoning. This happens when your current problems is already familiar because there are some similarities with your past problems. Example, problem solving with a problem with your lover. So then the last one is the trial and error. Consists of trying alternatives or alternative courses of actions in no systematic way. Now that ends the strategy selection. Next is a strategy implementation. With a proper planning from the first 3 steps, we must be ready to move along with the next step, which is to carry out the selected strategy. Now the last one is the evaluation. The final step consists of evaluating the results. Students evaluate the results of problem solving when they check their work on the math test. Evaluation means evaluating whether the result makes sense or not. Now, problem solving is never been easy, as we all know. All of us have different things we need to consider, and that there are these factors hindering problem solving. First one is the functional fixedness, which occurs when people are unable to think about functions or uses for an object. Second one is responsive or mental set, which is the tendency to approach the problems in the same way they have been experienced in the past. Now we have also to tackle how the expert problem solver does. One is that they use more time planning. They are better at representing problems. They have larger repertoires of strategies, and that they have proceduralized strategic knowledge and metacognitive skills. So that ends our discussion. For our next meeting, I want you to find a partner, and suppose you will go to any Philippine landmark. Choose only one. Plan for a 2-week trip in a selected landmark. Provide a history and a justification of stopping at that place. Write a description of where you will stay and you will eat. Take note, you will have to spend not more than 13,000. So I guess class, that ends my discussion. I am DEMiAR. Thank you and good morning once again.